All right. Well, hello. Greetings, good greetings. Welcome to the the Women in Youth Civility Conference. My goodness, I'm super excited. It is day four. It's day four. This is the grand finale. And we are here to talk about climate change. My name is Dr. Anana Phifer-Derilhomme, and I am the Women in Youth Civility practitioner. So listen, you are if you just happen to stumble up on this broadcast, if you're just listening, if you're just watching, understand that you are at the right place at the right time. Do and but trust me when I say this, this is really groundbreaking what we've done. Okay, so now listen, we are about the four C's. Four C's: civility. Yes. Monday, we kicked off this conference talking about civility from the youth perspective, how to be more civil, more understanding, have more compassion from our youth, right? And they talked about communication. We had girls from North America, so as young as 13 years old, all the way up to 22, to share the platform to talk about civility. Day two, we talked about community. Oh my goodness. And the levels of community, how you can interact in your community, how to improve the lives of everyone around you in community. Last night, were you there last night? Oh, last night was lit. Last night was all about huh, creativity. Yes, and we brought they call them the creatives from the north, the south, and the east and the west to share how creativity impacts their lives, and more importantly, how it can sometimes even save your life. Young people are going through, such a level of pressure. They are facing so many challenges, and we're understanding now how they can tap into their creative juices, their creative space, right? And learn how, one, to be civil to themselves, but then also accept the creativity and be a blessing and be a gift to their what? To their community, which then leads to civility. So listen, this is day four. And at this point, I'm sure that you know, if you're watching, the theme of this conference is that we are going to listen. You have two ears, right? One mouth. So that means you should be doing double time of listening, right? You are going to learn, and then in turn, we live civility. Now, as a world civility ambassador, I have an incredible mentor. I have a world leader, a world changer, top notch. When we talk about walking and living excellence, civility for all is literally, he lives and breathes this thing. My mentor is here with me tonight. Oh my goodness. I am so excited that he is able to kick off the grand finale as we discuss climate change. Now, my mentor, before I tell you, we're just excited that he's here because at any given day, he could be at any place around the world. And what he does, he's talking civility, he's living civility, he's walking civility for all walks of life. That's what this man does. And he's not just a professor, he's not just a doctor, he's not a sir, but I can tell you that he truly is a man of God. He is a man that has a heart for people globally. And I am honored. I am blessed. Even as you meet our panelists tonight, I'm connected to them simply because of being connected to him and the doors that he has opened that allow me to have this platform tonight. So without further ado, I want you to just put your hands together. If you're watching, put some hearts on the screen, but please just take this time to welcome Sir Clyde Rivers to the platform tonight, to the conference. Sir Rivers, we got to get you unmuted, sir. Wait. All right.
Dr. Anana, you're passing all that credit to me, but I'm not taking it. You are one of the great leaders of this day and hour, and I mean that. I travel the world. You are a person that takes people and makes them better. Now, no, that's uncommon because many times, men, leaders are competing with the people they're mentoring, and that you don't do that. You are looking to make every girl, every boy in this world the best. And I'm honored to be on this amazing team. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, sir. Now, I know even as we just look at where we are today, and you and I are both here in the U.S., correct? And thinking about even civility, but also in our current climate of this pandemic, right? And I want you to just, as we're going to talk about climate change, but even my thought is, last night we had the VP debate, and I
Yeah.
was encouraged because I listened, and I heard that climate change was discussed. They talked about the Paris Agreement. They talked about fracking, which I'm sure our youth here can take us a little deeper into that. Um, I wanted to just hear from you, and I wanted you just to share a little bit as we kick off. The topic tonight is climate change. What do you think as a world leader? So and you see how people all around the globe are affected by climate change. What is some of your experience and the things that you see that are happening around the globe in regards to climate change?
Yeah. One of the amazing things about climate change is some countries some countries are so developed that the effects of climate change doesn't affect them.
Mm.
Other countries have where it hasn't rained in 5 years, all the cattle died. So they're absolutely devastated because they depend on rain, they depend on all these things, and as the patterns change, these countries have nothing. And what's happening now? There's a thing of actually climate wars are taking place because what takes place is when this one uh, continent loses and it doesn't rain, now those people move to the next region, and the like next region is saying, no, you can't share our resources. So I believe the world has to open their eyes up for a new concept called a climate refugee. Let me tell you, this is one of the big things that the actual fight is this: many countries don't want any more refugees.
Mhm.
So the fight that's going on now, say if a country has a flood and knocks out the housing for 1,000 people, well, now those people are considered nothing. So there is no thing that can help them. They're just out of a home and homeless and that. But if you make it a human right, now countries will have to accept them in. So there's a big thing now of an actual climate refugee that's next on the forefront. And you got to realize many countries don't want any more refugees. This is the fight against a climate refugee. So this is where it's going in the political arenas of the world. Now, see, when it becomes as it becomes a human right, now when there's a catastrophe, governments are responsible for the people that lost everything.
Mhm.
So you have to realize there's a political side to all this stuff. There's politics. Like there are countries that if it's hot, you go put the AC on. There's other countries where there is no AC,
Mhm.
where you're just out there losing everything. Cattle, there is no water. And one of the big things that's taking place, I was just at the United Nations conference in Spain just before COVID. I was there at that whole conference, and it's amazing. There are some countries that are experiencing nothing, and other countries are at the verge of, man, I had a guy tell me, I'm willing to get arrested to bring awareness to what's going on in our country.
Wow.
And you know what? This here is an issue that's not going anywhere. This issue, if we don't begin to look after the environment better, this is going to happen everywhere. So there will be different diseases, different things that come out of this. So that's why it's important that we look and we understand that we have to preserve our environment, or it won't take care of us. So that's just some of the things that I know that are going on with climate change in the world today.
And just the climate refugees. And you just hearing you share about that, and I just think about refugees in general, right? You know, people just escaping war and things, but to imagine that we actually now have climate refugees, that's just the thought of it, you know, visually, it is just absolutely incredible. And the one thing that I thought about is, of course, you as the civility guru, listen, the originator, the founder of I Change Nations and Civility for All, that climate change, in my opinion, is really all about civility. I'm sure that you get that. And I believe that climate change actually falls under human rights, right? Right to clean air, right to clean water, to healthy soil. And addressing this phenomenon is really what it's really about: humanity, about civility. So what do you think about that? I'm sure, because this
You're
is
you're 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 100% right. And you know, one of the big challenges is this is money. It's actually resources. Now, when they if they classify this as a human right, man, right now it's not considered a human right. So the actual big fight is for a thing called climate justice. Climate
yep,
justice,
yes.
and these are the things. So there's a couple sides to it. So you really have to win at all fronts. But what's going to happen in the poor nations, if this isn't fixed, they're going to board boats, and they're going to do what it takes to get out of those places and come and flood the borders of other countries because they have no resources. So I tell people, the actual more the world can help now, the better it'll be later. And you know, it's to me it's a real thing. I've been there, I've seen it. I've been in countries where I've seen it hasn't rained, and you watch cows that are skinny just because it's no rain, there's no water, and then what takes place at the actual water hole is then watched by the lions. So now they protect the water hole, so no one gets any water but them. So this thing is snowballing, and then, as I said, in other countries, there's no issue. If it's hot, I put the AC on. Cold, I put on the heater. I have ice water. I have this. So that's the difference. And I've learned something in this work. If you haven't experienced it, you don't have reality in it. So for some people, it's a conversation because they have no experience in it. It's just a conversation. And other people are crying for their life, saying, help us, we're dying. So that's the difference. So there has to be a whole nother dialogue about this. And that's why I'm happy for these young people that will get on stage and have a voice, because they're concerned about the future of their world.
Yes, yes. So true. And I love, I'm excited about the guys, the ladies and the gentlemen that we have here tonight, because, you know, even thinking about climate change, it's like the great equalizer. At the end of the day, we all share the same planet. We're not going anywhere else. This is it. We share this planet together. And the thought that, you know what, like you said, I can go and turn on my heat. I can go and take a hot shower, right? I have no problem with that, right? Using electricity that I'm using right now. But I believe I want to make sure I have my numbers right. And this is just something to think about, that 1.3 billion around the world don't have electricity.
Yeah.
No electricity. So none, right? 1.3 billion people, 2.6 billion still cook on open fires. And so when you think about that, right, and I'm so excited that I get to even raise awareness to that. And just traveling, as you said, you know, I've been able to see and understand the beautiful thing about having running water, like going to a tap and turning on water. This is the numbers. 1.3 billion people do not, right? This is
Wow.
reality. So showing how we are all sharing the same planet, how what I do, and of course, you know, with Blessed Girls, we are certainly focused about women and girls, but understand that it's the woman that feeds the children, that teaches the children, right? That raise the children. So does a lot, that the burden of a lot of these things, right? It certainly falls on that that woman, that mother, right? That grandmother. So tonight, I'm super excited that we can have this discussion, that we could talk about these things and raise awareness to a whole nother level, right? And like you was talking about, if it's in Africa, if it's in Asia, even here in North America, the wildfires, right, in California, the increase in hurricanes, there's really no turning a blind eye anymore. Right.
No.
You just cannot do that, sir. And I'm sure even for you, even in California, having these experiences and seeing how we in the US, and I believe it said that in the United States, we are the greatest carbon polluter. We are the biggest, right? And we have to own that, realize that. And again, just really, this is something when we talk about civility, we talked about the 4C's: civility, community, right? My community is with my young ladies that I'm going to be speaking to and the young people that I'm speaking to in South America. My community is me speaking to other leaders in South America, right?
Yes.
This is what it is, right? And we have to understand that. So I'm so excited that you are here, that you can just share this platform and your expertise and leading the way, opening up a path for us to follow. I'm honored, sir. So I'm super, super excited. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to share, even just about Civility for All, how that's developing. Tonight you have on your Royal Civility shirt.
Yes.
You are showing that.
Yeah.
Is there
Wait.
Come on, show them, Doc.
Wait, come on now.
Come on.
I just
He got the ink to show it.
Yeah, I got the ink to show it. Civility for all. I'm committed for life.
Come on, sir. Yeah. It's really, really, it's the type of thing now that, like I said, it's no more being quiet. I'm honored even as a World Civility Ambassador that I have this platform that we can create, where when we talk about leadership, is actually creating a platform for others to rise up and to be a voice and to share, their leadership, their expertise and what's going on. And this conference has been just that. So I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm so grateful.
If you don't mind, let me share one thing. You three young leaders, you're number ones. Your voice matters in this world. Never look at yourself as anything other than number one. If we put you on a stage, I don't care what country you come from, you only come with us as number ones, because that's what level you operate at. And I know Dr. Anana has you at that level, because as we bring you to the different stages of the world, you're not coming as a developing nation, you're coming as a young world leader. So that's my admonition to all you watching and you young people that are going to share today. You're the best. It is your future. And what we're doing, we're going to build stages for you to be number one on. Number one in your narrative, number one in your thinking, number one in your ideas, and never be talked out of the authenticity of you.
That's good. Never be talked out of the authenticity of you. My goodness, that's good. I hope the folks that are watching can put that in the comments, because that is so true for the youth and for you watching, for even the adults there. Never be talked out of that. Be bold, be you. That is certainly what this thing is about. So I thank you, sir. We seal your ink tonight. Listen.
Thank you. Come on.
Oh my goodness, man. Yes, this is awesome. So we're going to go right into this thing, guys. I thank you for watching. Make sure you comment, like, and share. We are sure tonight that you are going to learn. Get your pen and paper out. Again, last night, if you are here in North America, they spoke about fracking. You heard about, but if you don't know anything about that, if you hear the word climate change and you're not too sure what that means, does that mean I just recycle cans and bottles? Yeah, that's a part of it, but it's definitely bigger than that. And tonight, we have some of the amazing world youth leaders, and they are hailing out of Guyana. Yes, so we have now ending this night in South America. If you guys know, 2 years ago, I had the opportunity, believe it, Doc, it was 2 years ago, you took me to Guyana for my first trip, 2018. 2018, I had the
Wow.
pleasure of traveling with Sir Clyde Rivers and Dr. Reuben West as we were a part of I Change Nations, and we were able to go there and speak and meet some of these amazing leaders and travel to various schools and such. And through those relationships, we had our first Summit Kick Summer
Yeah.
program in Guyana, BlessedGirls Summer Camp, and
Yeah.
I met this one amazing young lady. This one amazing young lady, her name is Landra Richards.
Come
She
on.
is, come
Yes.
on, Landra. She is 19 years old. She was a panelist last during the summer in July,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
She has her associate's degree in biology. She is currently in her third year at the University of Guyana, where she
Come
will
on.
obtain her bachelor's degree, right?
Yes.
She has 2 years experience in biology research. She is an
Wow.
active volunteer in the biology club. She successfully partake in animal rehabilitation and handling both at home and now is it the
Wow.
Yorovara Training Center. She has directed research programs and practical exercises, and she is passionate about environmental conservation. She looks forward to working with youth and wildlife agencies to develop herself and
Wow.
those
Wow.
around her. Please,
Okay.
guys, put your hands together for our blessed girl, our scientist, if you will, our biology specialist, Miss Landra Richards. How are you this evening?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm happy to be back again. A bit less nervous this time.
Yes, 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 yes. This is so good. I mean, to have you back, and you really touched a nerve for me at the last conference because I remember you were saying that people really, because they don't understand science, they don't get and they step away from climate change. And that stuck home with me. I remember Sir Rivers, you
Yeah,
were there as well. Remember when she said that? I hope he's still there. But you really nailed in on that for us at the last conference. And I felt like this is a great way. I have to let you keep on going.
I'm
I
glad
have
I
to give
did.
you this platform to keep on developing this and help us learn more about climate change. And not just you, but as I talk to you as we work together, I said, listen, Landra, I know you know some people. I know that you don't do this work alone. So I wanted you to come back to the platform to talk more about it, but to also bring some of your friends along, bring some of your colleagues along, and you did just that. You did just that. So without further ado, I want you to just if you can even I know Zoya. Zoya, we've met, we had the opportunity. I want to read her bio, but I also want you to just share why you invited her and a bit about your relationship. So Zoya Samaru, she is 20 years old. She has her associate's degree in biology as well. She's currently going for her final year. She is reading for her bachelor's degree in biology at the University of Guyana. She's a frequent volunteer at the Center for Study of Biological Diversity, and an active member of the Guyana Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. She is passionate about advocating for environmental protection and conservation and wish to raise awareness about global environmental issues that impact not just humans, but also the vulnerable wildlife. She enjoys arts and crafts, and she tries to do her best to spend as much time surrounded by nature. I love it. I love it. She is well known for having a strong networking for public speaking skills, but she really hopes to improve over time. And we sure that she's going to do just that. So Zoya, if you want to come up, and in the meantime, Landra, you want to just share how you invited and your relationship with Zoya and why you invited her tonight?
Sure, no problem. So, Zoe and I met at the university, and at first, I don't think we spoke, but eventually, as the course went on, we got to interact and so on. And I realized, hey, this girl is really passionate about what she does. And it's the same thing with Dio Paul. He could talk all day about climate change and anything that has to do with the environment and so on. So I'm like, you know what? Definitely going to invite Zoya here because you guys will definitely be able to pick up something from her and learn new things and so on and so forth. So yeah.
All right, Zoya. So if you want to come on up, we welcome you to the platform tonight. We are certainly looking forward to hearing from you. How are you, Zoya?
I am fine. Happy to be here. Very flattered. Thank you, Landra. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. A little bit nervous, but very excited to say what I have to say and raise awareness, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And this is what you do. This is what you are passionate about. And we are excited that you can be here with us tonight and share. So just stay tuned. Now we have another one of your colleagues. I just wanted to introduce him as we move forward. So next up. Now, tonight, Blessed Girls Global, we are about the girls, but we need our guys. We have some blessed guys that help and support, and we're super excited that we have a phenomenal young man tonight that is here to share this platform. And his name is Dio Paul Samwaru, and he is 22 years old. He's currently completing his BSc in marine biology at the University of Guyana. He's very passionate about protecting his environment. And as such, he has been very active in conservation and sustainable development projects. He is very keen on integrating technology and biodiversity preservation practices. Now that's a lot that I just want to learn about. So listen, Dio Paul, but also Kevin, and I think that's in there. So, Dio Paul, Kevin, welcome. We are super excited to have you on the platform tonight. We just blessed to have you. I know Landra is here. She invited you as well. So if you want to come on up and just say hello and give greetings before we get right in to the panel.
Hi, thank you for having me once again. I'm happy to share whatever I know and possibly spread some information that persons might not have known before. So thank you once again for having me.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here. Since you are here and you're up, so let's get right into it, right? Because the folks are certainly ready to hear what you have to share, and we're ready to learn from you. So as I told you from the beginning, you are the expert tonight, sure. All right? So, you're the expert. So let's get it. What does climate change mean to you?
To me, climate change it's much of a disease, I would say, because we have a give and take relationship with the environment. We give something to it and we take from it. But we have gotten to the point where we have started to take more than we can actually give back to the environment. And it's starting to have negative effects on us. One of that being the increase in temperatures, which is causing the entire earth to warm. It's causing wildfires. It's causing the sea levels to rise. And this is very, very bad for us because one, what the increased temperature causes droughts, and now we know that we have the climate change refugees as well because people are very, very affected by this. Two, we have erosion of our coastlines, which lead to the destruction of our mangrove species. Now, persons might not know this, but mangroves are very important to us because they take off way more carbon dioxide from our environment than any rainforest could do. And if we remove our mangroves, we're still putting out CO2 out there. And it's causing the earth to heat up even more, which is making it very, very hard for us to survive on a daily basis. Yes, you can utilize an AC unit and you can probably go to the pool, but for how much longer? And while some countries do have that luxury, others don't. So climate change for me is a disease, and it's something that we need to work together as a collective to rectify. It's not something where, well, it's affecting me, then only I have to deal with rectifying it. It's more of everyone globally needs to come together and hold hands and say, well, we need to do something to preserve our environment. We need to ensure that the forests are not cut down. We need to cut the amount of CO2 emissions that we put out there. We need to start to use sustainable practices. We need to ensure that we try renewable sources of energy rather than using fossil fuels, which we know are very, very very bad for environment. We need to ensure that we find alternative modes of transportation. If you can well, I wouldn't suggest that now, since we're in the midst of a pandemic, but we need to find ways to cut down our carbon footprint, because we're getting to the point of no return where we're basically destroying the very place that we're living in. So for me, yes, climate change is a disease that needs to be rectified urgently.
Wow. I never, and that's why you're here, and that's why I'm here with my pen and paper. I never considered it as a disease. That's really, really interesting. I love the give and take. The earth gives us so much, right? But what are we doing to give back, right? And to treat it well? It's a great way to look at it in any relationship. It's really true, really true. Now, you spoke about the mangrove, right? Now, everybody doesn't know what a mangrove is. So can you just take a moment and share with us what exactly a mangrove is?
Okay, so mangroves are a set of, yeah. So the word mangrove, it's actually a term used to classify a set of trees or shrubs that grow along the coastline, that is along the waterways. So I'm sure when you've been on a boat ride in certain countries, you would see lots of trees along the waterways. Those
Yes.
are mangroves. So mangroves are a set of tropical uh, coastal shrubs that inhabit the coastlines, and they have built up a resistance to salinity, so they can take lots of salt water and still survive. They actually have this really cool mechanism where they can filter out the salt from the water and add it to their leaves. And some indigenous communities take that leaf and put it into their food because it gives them salt. So yeah, mangroves are they're very important to our ecosystem as well, because they serve as nurseries for our fishes, which in turn benefits our fishing community, which then adds to our economy. So yes, they are a very important ecosystem to both the animals and us, and they protect our coastline because the root system prevents from erosion.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. I had no, that's, we think it's just, beautiful. It's a part of the coastline, right? And mangroves are located throughout the world. Is it just specific to Guyana? Are mangroves just like in the Caribbean, coastal areas? Are they all throughout the world?
They're found mostly in tropical coastal environments, so it's not exclusive to South America.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Moving
You can find them
along.
in Florida, actually.
Florida. Okay. Okay. Guys, see that?
Yeah,
Mangroves in Florida.
yeah,
Great,
yeah.
great, great.
Mhm,
So all in those
mhm.
coastal tropical areas. That's where mangroves are.
Yes.
Great, great, great. Now, how does climate change impact your life, specifically where you live in Guyana? How does it affect your life?
For me, so the thing about Guyana is we are situated on, well, most of our population, first off, we are below sea level, and most of our population is found on the coastline, almost 90% of it. And that's where all of our agricultural practices go on. And basically everything about Guyana goes on along the coastline. And because of climate change, it's causing the sea level to rise, and it's causing lots of overtopping when the water comes in, and it's causing erosion. And in about 50 years time, not even that much sooner, we would have to relocate, because as the water continues to eat away at the land and the high tides come in, it makes it really hard for persons to inhabit the coast anymore. And we've had issues where rice farmers, because rice is one of our staple crops here,
Mhm.
have lost millions because of the water overtopping and destroying their crops. And that constitutes still a loss in revenue, a loss in food that is circulated within our country, and it overall affects our GDP, affects our economy. So for me as an individual, it gives me a sense of insecurity, because to think that sometime in the future I will have to leave my home and find somewhere else. And we can also go in and say, well, there's the heat issue because it's not getting any cooler, it's getting really hot. So it makes it harder to commute daily. So I would say that's my biggest issue with climate change.
Wow.
Well, on a personal level.
Personal level. So there's a level of insecurity,
Yeah.
you know, and
Mhm.
that's where it hits, you know, because we don't, again, it's so tangible, it's so real that you know that in a certain amount of time, you know, as a maybe you'll be older man with your own family and you know different things that you know that are now going to have to possibly relocate and move further inland. I'm assuming because of what is happening
Yeah,
right now, right? Is that a good summarization?
exactly. And we've seen it happen in Brazil, where they had to relocate an entire city inland because of the rising tides.
Wow. Wow. This is good. This is good. This is good. All right. Okay. Great. 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 Now, how do you think the pandemic is affecting your community?
Well, like most other communities, it affects businesses because persons can't go out anymore. So
Mhm.
it affects persons can't work. They're forced to cut into their savings. Some people have taken to the streets to beg because they don't have enough money to to supply their basic needs. One benefit is we are getting assistance from the government and other organization.
Okay.
So the pandemic has basically put a hold on everyone's day-to-day life. uh, I'm sure people had dreams and aspirations that they can't quite achieve anymore because we've been given a slowdown, or been put on pause basically. Yes, we're now starting to get out of it, and but we are seeing like every time we start to open up the country, we have a spike again, and then we have to go down. We have to go back into lockdown mode, and people are left uncertain. Some people are fed up. Some people aren't sure what they're going to do in the next couple of months. So
Mhm.
for me, I would say it's put my life on pause. Yes, I have made strides, but I couldn't do everything I wanted to. But we have to make sacrifices in these times, I guess.
Indeed. 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 And it's just interesting because you know it all like you were saying deals with business and economy, right? So if things
Mhm.
stop, right, things are not coming in, you're not able to go out, and that still leads to that insecurity, right? That even you as a
Yeah.
young man right now can feel that. And it's not a good feeling. You know, like let's just be clear, that when you do not feel secure and you're not, you know, you don't that even insecurity is feeling safe, you know, that you're in an environment where you can thrive and do and be your best. It's great to hear that from you and from your perspective. So I thank you for that. So now my question, and these are it's like a two-part. How do you feel, or what do you feel is missing from your current culture, and what can we do to increase whatever it is that it's missing, or whatever the deficit that you feel right now, and what can we do to make that better, or to bring a increase and change that, if you will? What is one of the big
Okay.
things that's missing from your culture right now?
So, in keeping with the topic of climate change, I would say what's definitely missing is awareness. I'll give you an example. So, uh, there's this place in Guyana called Hope, where there's a mangrove forest, and it was recently brought to our attention that there was a buildup of plastics, like literal thousands of plastics. Now, the biggest issue here was one, people didn't know that the plastic buildup was there, or even if some knew, it wasn't to a great extent. And two, people didn't know that because they're dumping their waste into the waterways, it's going somewhere and causing an issue. Because as the plastic builds up, the mangrove forests begin to die, and it with that it causes the fish population to decrease, and it causes erosion of that land in that specific area. So for me, I think lack of awareness is a really big issue, and it one way can be rectified is to have panel discussions like these, or actually, well, we can't go out now, but we have to stay virtually and educate the masses on on what what certain activities would lead to. For example, if you cut down trees, it's not just cutting down that tree, you're destroying the home of an organism, which contributes to an entire food web or food chain. I'm sure we all know how food chains work. One organism benefits from the other and the cycle goes on. So yes, a lack of awareness. We need to let people know that in doing certain actions, it leads to certain repercussions, and you need to find sustainable ways of dealing with it.
Very, very good. I totally concur because, and that's why I felt like it was so important to continue this conversation, to have this dialogue, and to have, experts and people that are just passionate about it to share, and to raise awareness because I certainly don't know as much as I should about it, right? And I know that I want to know. I'm trying to learn. And in doing that, I want to raise awareness and teach others. So it's so key. And I love the fact that, thinking about your culture, because I think the youth know more than people of my generation. But knowing and doing something about it, right, is two different things, right? So knowing it and then taking action, right, to prevent, taking preventive measures and taking actions to work things out. That's something that I wonder how many of folks your age are really doing. So I certainly agree with you on that one. Now tell me about a project or research or what you're doing. And the friends and your colleagues, what are you
Okay.
doing
So
now for this?
So currently, as I would have highlighted, the buildup of plastics, what we have done over the past 3 weeks is get young people to come out. Of course, we maintain the social distancing protocols and we wore masks, and we actually cleaned up that area. And what we have gotten to the point where we've managed to clean up an entire area, and we're putting barriers up and replanting the mangroves there. So we saw that issue. We decided that it needed to be fixed, and to we got around to getting that done. And we were very excited to see some local companies actually reaching out and helping us by providing garbage bags, providing refreshments, providing gloves and things like that. So yeah, that's one of the projects that I've been working on. Another project that I have, uh, well, it's in the incubation stages, is a restoration project for mangroves along the coastline. Uh, I still, there's a lot of research that needs to go into it. You need to understand the dynamics of the coast, because as one end of the coast builds up, the other end decreases because of the wave actions. So we need to analyze all the data that's provided and collected and see which areas would be ideal for a restoration project. One other project that I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm spearheaded, but something that I've helped out in is spreading of awareness. I have like I've seen through my different projects, I would have met persons that are really passionate about the environment, and I tried to get a platform for them so that they could share those views with others. Because even if you're in a room with 100 persons and you manage to change the mind of three, that's still a lot, because from that tree they would go on to change the mind of another tree, and it builds up. So yeah, that's some of the most immediate projects.
Indeed, indeed. Now, as far as and thank you, and I mean that. Like I thank you so much. Because this is what happens. You took nothing, right? I mean, you guys, you saw the need, and you said this is something we're gonna do, right? So I'm sure you gathered your other colleagues and friends, and you guys just said this is what it is, right? So you it's no more grassroots than that, right? So I thank you just for having the courage, and the commitment to do that, and then of course then people follow that you, because you are a leader. So I appreciate so much your leadership in that regard, in these various projects. And now, so these two, this is just the last way I want you to end the segment for yourself as the panel. What is a misconception or a misunderstanding between youth and adults today? And how can we bridge the gap and learn from one another?
From my experience, one misconception is adults tend to assume that youths don't have enough experience to speak on certain matters. But it's not sometimes it's not a matter of experience, it's a matter of how you understand an issue. And I think youths need youth need to be given more opportunities to have their voices heard, because if you look at it, when we're together, we're able to achieve so much, and we would have been given certain opportunities that adults in at this age wouldn't have had, because we're in the age of technology. Everything is at our fingertips. I could type I could press two tabs on my computer and get whatever information I'm looking for. I could find 100 guides on how to go about starting a cleanup project, or how to plant a tree or something along that lines. So youths are very innovative. They just need to be given that platform. And adults need to recognize that it's not, we recognize that it's time that we not step back a little, but extend an arm forward and bring youths onto the platforms, bring them up, build them up, and show them, give them the resources they need and the guidance. Because while I'm not saying that experience is not key, I'm saying that, well, let me rephrase. I'm saying that yes, youths don't have the experience all the time, but if you have it and you're able to put it on, you're able to explain that to them, or pass some sort of advice over to them, it helps them greatly. And as youths who are in a technological age, we catch on to things really fast. So all I'm saying is you extend that hand, give them the resources and the guidance that they need, and watch them shine.
I love it. You didn't even know that's one of the key core values of Blessed Girls is shine.
Oh,
We give
cool.
you the opportunity
That's
to
really
shine
good.
and to soar. That is certainly what this is all about. And I like how you said, you think that you are inexperienced, but you guys really have a perspective, you have a passion, right? And that is so valuable. It really, really is. And the fact that we tend to just brush it off or tell you to wait for your time when we need you now, and that's what I was saying, even a lot of posts, that you really are the leaders of today. Yes, of tomorrow, but even today, you guys can lead the way. So I thank you so much, Deal Paul, for sharing, for saying yes to Landra. I know you didn't know what this crazy Dr. Nana was going to talk about tonight, but you are here as an expert, and I thank you that I learned so much, and I have my notes. So just stay tuned. We're going to bring you back for closing remarks and such. And if you have anything to add, as I know, Landra, you guys are going to have like a group discussion. And if you have anything to add as we go on, just jump right in, okay?
All right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for having me once again.
Thank you. All right, Zoya, you next up. Landra, this is really your thing. I see Landra wiping her head. Wait a minute, Landra. Anything you want to say before we move to Zoya? Anything you want to say about D. Paul? You're on mute.
There isn't much to say. He's really done it for himself. You can see he's a really innovative person. He has his passion and he really holds on to it. And you can definitely learn from him. I'm just hoping that if there's anybody out there that would like to reach out to Diopal and help him get to where he wants to improve the place we are at right now, you should definitely do that.
Indeed. No, you're right. The to continue to build the network, like you said, and people that want to work and want to make a difference, just locking arms with him will be really, really key. So, all right, dear Paul, we're going to build your network tonight, okay? All right, Landra, we're going to move on to Zoya. Hi, Zoya. Welcome to the panel. We're super excited for you tonight. Just breathe and come on and give it to us. All right, Zoya, tell me, what does climate change mean to you?
Okay, climate change. I guess a lot of us have heard about climate change, like in school and stuff like that. It's like no new concept to us, but a lot of people don't understand what it is. So think about floods, think about the days are getting hotter, the nights are getting colder in some places. Think about unexpected snowstorms or wildfires like we're seeing in California right now. Again, like Dio said, and he's very right, it is very much a disease. It's something that it's not new. It's nothing new. It's nothing that's today it's happening. It's been going on for years. And the fact that we know so much about it now and we're still learning so much about it, the solutions are kind of right there at our fingertips. It just takes a little bit of sacrifice.
Okay. And what do you mean by sacrifice? What do you mean by it takes sacrifice? What would be some of the things you would sacrifice? If you
so, like when we look at, for instance, veganism or vegetarianism. I'm not saying everybody, look, go turn vegetarian today, because I know it's a hard thing to do. I myself, can't really do it 100%. But when you look at the industry, you look at how much carbon is being released from cattle, that kind of thing. Even if you were to take meat out of your meal once a day, you're doing so much greater than you would usually do. Things like plastics, things like when you go to the supermarket, instead of collecting 100 plastic bags to put 5 things in, why not take your own bag, take your own reusable bags? Very simple things that we can do, things that are literally at the tip of our fingers. Like Dee said, carpooling. You don't have to everybody doesn't need their own vehicle. Get a bicycle. The roads are good. I mean, get a bike, get your friends, say, look, instead of all of us driving up and releasing all this carbon, let's all go together. And it's something, it can be fun. It can be fun to learn about. It's something to educate yourself about.
I love it. I love the simple things. But if we all did these small things, it will have a huge impact, right? And I remember learning about, like you said, having sustainable meals and meat and eating fish and the benefit of that. And I have to be honest with you, I just learned that about 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So, the fact that you even touch on that, believe it or not, there's people that may be hearing this for the first time tonight, right? And that's why, going back to Deal Paul's point, it's awareness. It's just these simple things that do matter. Riding your bike and cutting emissions and things like that. Any other tips that you would give, if you will?
Well, these are things, they're not new to us. In terms of awareness, it's fun. It's fun to learn about these things. So why not go ahead and do your research for yourself? I mean, you're hearing it from us, but it's also interesting to know for yourself. There's simple things that you can do for yourself. Cook your own meals instead of buying fast food stuff, because the amount of carbon that's released, the amount of cattle, that kind of thing, very simple stuff.
It's good. It's good. And how do you think climate change affects your life? What do you see in your community right now? Like, how are you being affected by climate change?
So apart from the heat, because let me tell you, in Guyana, it's extremely hot now. It's like so hot. It's hotter than we've ever really had it. At least it feels so to me. Apart from the temperature and all that changing, security, as he was saying, it's very important. We in Guyana, we deal with a lot of crop rotation and that kind of thing. Our markets, they depend on the type of climate that we have. The crops grow based on the climates that we have. So in terms of availability of food, some things that you want or some things that are convenient you can't get, or things that are simple necessities you simply can't get at certain times, if ever sometimes. I live right next to the ocean. And as Dio was saying, almost 90% of Guyana's population lives on the coast, near to the ocean. And again, we are below sea level. So we tend to have, as soon as there's the slightest bit of rise in our tides, we have a lot of inundation, which is flooding, the roadways are completely flooded. You can't get to and from. Schools are usually closed some of the times. We have a littering problem. Guyana has very much, our waterways are very stagnant most of the time. So you find that when you get this flooding, you get a lot of the waterways start to rise. A lot of the trash and the sewage and stuff like that is all in the water, it's all in the roads. A lot of people can't afford to, okay, the roads are flooded, I can't go to work. So they have to traverse through all of this to get to and from. Think about diseases, think about malaria. I forgot the name of the other disease, but there's so many things. It's very insanitary, honestly.
Right.
And again, the heat, the temperature, it's crazy. It's crazy what we're dealing with.
Right, 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 right. No, it's so true. And we have like Blessed Girls in East Africa and Burundi. And I want to say about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we learned of families that were completely wiped out because of flooding. And I know and understand now the connection
Yeah.
between climate change and flooding, and people like literally lose everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even have much to begin with, but to understand, could you imagine your home? And that's even here at us in the US. I mean, right now I think there's a storm that's coming, a hurricane that's coming, Delta, I think is the name. But that you literally lose everything that you have in a flood. And I'm sure that until it happens to you, you don't really see it
Yeah,
and you
you
don't
don't see
make
the
the
impact.
connection.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
guys, we have a problem, and we need to really address this and do what we can, right?
And I
And that,
think that's one of the most important things. A lot of people, when like hurricanes and stuff like that, we look at it on the news and we say, oh, look, that's the usual thing. We're getting hurricanes every 2 days. But nobody really takes the time to think about, why are we getting this? It's becoming so prevalent now. We're having a hard time linking the two. Most of the time, the general public, I mean, we science students, people who are aware, we can see, but a lot of people can't relate the two. We can't find the links to relate why this would be happening as a result. And because of that, we can see the simple things that we do, how it will affect a much bigger picture.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And it's empowering. If you understand the little things, how powerful they are, then you will take it on as like, this is something I can do. And it doesn't just affect me, but it affects, the people from around the globe. And
Yeah.
that's what's powerful. So I'm glad that we have this opportunity to have this discussion. Now tell me, when you think about the pandemic, our current situation and dealing with COVID-19 and being locked down and schools closed, you tell me, what are some of the things personally that you see or you feel in your community right now? How are you being affected by the pandemic?
Um, well, again, a lot of places are being closed down now because of the pandemic. So a lot of people are suffering economically. But I will say, a recent study did show that because of the pandemic, we have seen a 17% decrease in our CO2 emissions, which I think it's great. It just goes to show that the thing is that we don't necessarily need an entire world shutdown to solve a problem like this. It's little things. Again, little things add up. One person doing little things adds up. But yeah, a lot of it has to do economic. A lot of people can't get to work. A lot of people can't feed their families. It's hard, but the government is making it a little easier, giving grants, stuff like that. Um,
No, that's good. Let me tell you one thing I was thinking, I just heard on the news today. Now here, even on the East Coast of the United States of North America, in New York, right? On the coast, they were saying 5 years ago you might catch maybe 3 or 13. I think the maximum during whatever season it was, you would see like I want to say is like about 3 to 30 in a season of whales,
mhm.
right? They weren't, around. But now, because of and they think it has to do with the pandemic and
Yes.
things that are happening and slowed down or what have you. I don't know, but you know this probably better. The plankton and whatever's happening that is able to is revitalizing itself. That now they're coming back, and now this season they see like over 300 whales and yeah.
That
Go
is
ahead, talk about that.
definitely something. That's something I'm definitely excited about. The fact that we're having such a comeback of all of our biodiversity. Our biodiversity is thriving now more than ever because they have little to no human disruption. And we don't think about it in little things that we do, but we actually affect the environment so much. And again, the world, the ecosystem, the way that the world works, everything is interconnected. So we have to think about what we do affecting the smaller things. So like Dio was mentioning in terms of mangroves are one of the richest habitats. They host so much wildlife, so many animals, so many plants, that kind of thing. And with littering, plastic littering specifically I'll talk on, we get something that's called microplastics, which are literal plastic fragments that are so small, they're less than 5 millimeters. You can't see them unless you have a microscope. But these microplastics, they find their way into the food chain because things like crabs, the fish, stuff like that will eat them. And the food chain works like these things are not biodegradable. So they pass, they literally bioaccumulate, they build up in the food chain and they make their way into our lives, into our food, into our diet. So chances are with everything that you eat, there's a little piece of plastic in there somewhere. And plastic does not biodegrade, so it's building up in your body. It's very disturbing to think about, but we don't think about the little things and how they add up. The world is so vast and the little things, they really add up.
No, no, no. Listen, listen. We need to think about it. That's why you're here tonight. We've got to talk about this thing. So you, even in what you're saying, that plastics are in a lot of things that we eat, right? So now we're digesting these things, we inhaling these things, right? And then of course, like carcinogens and things like that, and cancer rates, and we got to talk about it, and we have to make that. I like you said the biodiversity, but the ecosystem, we're also interconnected.
Yep.
That's a great word. Listen, I told you I'm learning. I'm learning. You teaching me.
Making notes. Yeah, everything goes one into the other. When it's the first thing you learn when you get into what we're doing, biology. Every aspect, if you're looking at forest biology, if you're looking at botany, if you're looking at oceanography, which we're basically doing, we're looking at the ocean, everything adds up, everything accumulates at the end of the day. One thing affects the other. So when humans do something like they decide that we're going to go and live on the coast, most of the time we don't think about the impacts that we have to a great deal, and they build up over the years, over time. I'm sure that the first day that we decided to touch down on the coast, it was pristine, it was a perfect environment, everything was going good. And look at us now. The earth is kind of struggling to some extent. Yes, we're having all this flooding, we're having all the hurricanes, we're having the plastic buildup, we're having major plastic crisis. I think I'm dealing with plastic a lot because I'm doing that as my final year thesis. I decided to really focus on that because it's something that it's so simple and it's found everywhere and we don't think about it as we use it. It's like in face washes that we use, they use microbeads, which are really tiny plastic beads. So as I'm here, that's one thing I want to tell the public. Look, when you're buying face scrubs, make sure you look at the back, check for the plastics, because when you finish washing your face and you get rid of it and you go in bed and you lie down and you relax, those plastics, they travel through our waterways, they get back out to the ocean. The fish eat it. The fish will be eaten by a bigger fish. We catch that fish, we eat it. Somehow that plastic finds its way right back to you. So everything is interconnected. It's a cycle, it's a circle of life.
Circle of life. We got to go back to Lion King, right? I love it. You talking about these bio beads and stuff that we clean? That's like the hottest products right now. Cosmetic products have these things. What?
And that's the thing. That's the part that they don't tell you. That's the part that is not commercialized most of the time. You don't find that being said a lot.
So even in that, you look for companies that are, what would be the word of consciousness? Like they promote, what would be the word? I don't know, eco-friendly, or something like.
You try to look for things that are as natural as possible, as eco-friendly as possible. I'd say natural.
Good stuff. All right. So the last question I want you, and this could be about climate change, it could not be. This is a conference. We're talking about civility youth. What is one of the misconceptions or misunderstandings between youth and adults today? And what do you think we can do to bridge the gap? Talking to the old people like me.
Well, you see, this is the thing. Awareness, you said awareness, but I would also say there's a bit of a small-mindedness when it comes to lots of things. People are not willing to learn. It has a lot to do with experience, a lot to do with our age. They look at you and they say, look, we've been around longer. We've seen this problem before and we're still alive and nothing is wrong with us. We're doing perfectly fine now. We're still alive. In the next 5 years, we're still going to be alive. And so we tend to find that the older generations, because they've experienced it, they've been through it. They don't look to the future. They're not thinking about everybody else, kind of. I'm not everybody, because I mean, here you are, one of the good ones. But a lot of people, because they're not aware of what the entire thing is, they tend to shut you down as soon as you know. I have this problem a lot. A lot of people will tell me, oh, you know, you're so young, you're now coming out, you're now getting into the world. What do you know? You haven't seen that much. I've seen more than you, I know more than you. But the thing is that it's important to get a younger perspective. Not on everything, of course. There's some things that we simply don't know. We haven't been around long enough. But we do have the knowledge in some things. And I think a lot of people need to be more open-minded to the idea that, hey, look, this is someone who knows what they're talking about. They've studied this, they've done their research, they seem to know what they're talking about. You can even fact check us if you want, like go back and do your research afterwards, that's okay. But be open to the idea that not because you're older means you know more.
That's good. Yeah, well, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
an old fool is an old fool. Either way, I mean, you know, it is what it, and I feel like
You have to say it as it is.
yes. And here's
Yeah.
the thing, you know, I see Jeff is here. He said his question, Jeff Markinet, is talking about global warming, and he's asked you, is recycling still a good thing?
Yes and no, to some extent. Recycling does have its lifespan. You can only recycle something for so long before you can't do anything with it anymore, and then it finds its way back into the environment. But I would definitely say yes. Like, you know, as we were younger, we learned the 3 R's: recycle, reuse. So definitely, I definitely think it's a good thing. I would say so.
Okay.
But hey, go do your research. It's important. There's like so much articles, so much short videos on it. I find like in my spare time, I would look at these really short videos on YouTube about things like this.
They said go Google it, right? Go to the Google. So yes, but we will encourage recycling even at this
Yes.
point. But again, that's a small, there's so many other things that we can do in addition to that, which is great. So being more open-minded and being able to learn from the younger generation is absolutely key, right? And learning from one another, I think that was it. And get your younger perspective. I really feel that way because, like you said, oh, I went through it, I'm all right, you know. But you're saying no, like look at what's happening, like, you know, get a newer perspective out of life and what's happening around us in this regard. I think that's really
And
key.
it's definitely something that's becoming harder to do as I mean, we have people in power that are saying climate change is a hoax. And it's very hard to fight a system. It's very hard to fight people in power. But look, if you know, even if you educate one person on it, it's going to spread. Everything is a circle. One person will tell the other, it goes on. And eventually everybody will come to some point where they realize, hey, look, this is a real problem. We can look around us, we can see what's happening, we can see how this is going to affect us. And look, we have statistics to show, we have all the scientists doing what the scientists do to say, hey, look, in 10 years' time, this is going to happen. We have to do something now. Perspective.
Absolutely. And so Jeff is asking, so what do we do when everything is plastic? If everything is like, you know, and I get that too. Because like you said, I am more intentional now on taking my own bags and doing reusable bags. You know, the metal, I know everybody just buys water now, right? So it's just plastic bottles, right?
Yeah,
So
plastic.
using stainless steel or using bottles and my water, and this could be for anybody on the panel. He's asking, what do we do when everything is plastic? How can we be more eco-friendly, you know, and eco-conscious, if you will, in regards to plastic everywhere?
Okay, so might I jump in here?
Yes, please. All right,
So,
Jeff, it's for you.
Hi. So I'm going to address both questions from Jeff. One, yes, recycling does help. One major disadvantage of recycling, as I would have highlighted, is you can only recycle something up to a certain amount of time. And also, one important thing to note is that most of our garbage isn't recyclable, or we aren't able to recycle them. Now, what do we do when everything is plastic? We need to get into the habit of reusing, upcycling, and finding biodegradable alternatives. For example, we now have plastic straws. We now have the bamboo straws. We have the bamboo cups, and we have the bio plates and forks rather than the plastic. And they're biodegradable. So even if for some reason they were to be tossed into the environment due to improper disposal, in a matter of 60 days, they're gone, and they actually contribute towards the nutrient content of the environment or the soil around that area, as opposed to plastics, which would take a few hundred years. So we need to look into biodegradable alternatives. And one thing I would promote or encourage people to do is when you go to the supermarkets, don't use the plastics. Take your own bags. I know most of you are probably driving at this point. Take your own handbags, fill your groceries in, and take it home. And you can reuse that. That's by doing that. If 10 persons do that every week, that's almost a roll of plastic that is not being used. So that is my advice. When everything is plastic, look into alternatives because there are alternatives out there, and they are scientists and the people within different organizations are working towards making those very much affordable and available for persons to use. And some countries have actually gone their extra step and banned single-use plastics. Example, Guyana has actually passed is actually banning single-use plastics in 2021. We are not going to be using plastic straws or cutleries anymore, and we're going to use alternatives. So that is a step.
Indeed. Indeed.
Another thing I
Zoya,
will add to that is
yes.
while we can also buy more eco-friendly stuff, I know it's hard because sometimes they're expensive. And in the world that we live in, plastic is cheap. So here's the thing. I have plastic straws from months like that I would wash and reuse. I have spoons. If I go out and I get a plastic spoon, look, I put it in my handbag and I say when I go home I'm going to wash it, I'm going to reuse it. The thing is, that's the thing about reusing. It's eventually going to end up having to get thrown away. But if you can make the most out of it, if you can use it to the fullest extent, you're doing so much great. You have no idea.
That's it's
Oh,
key.
oh wait, before you go on, I just wanted to mention something, right? There's a fun activity that you can try out, right? You can make your own bowls out of your coconuts. I'm not sure if anybody here has tried them. It's absolutely fun. I tried it, I think it was the day before yesterday. Tried making my own bowls out of coconut, and trust me, it's fun. Just give it a shot. We'll save on plastic bowls and so on.
Wow.
Calabash is really helpful too.
Now
Exactly.
we don't have coconuts in enormity as you guys, but I can buy coconuts. Maybe Landra, this is something we could do with Blessed Girls as a group of it. Everybody get a coconut and we make this
Amen.
bowl. All right, I got you on that. All right, Zoya, you and Landra, y'all gonna. I get the coconuts here in North America, and the girls, we're gonna make our own bowls. Got it. I like it because D.L. Paul said, listen, just look for alternatives. And the thing is, it's not, you got to look for it sometimes, you know. I was hoping, I was texting my family because I brought like silicone straws the other day, right? So everybody has their own straw because I do use straws. I know I'm throwing them out, but it's just these little things that we can do. Oh, see, he brought me one. So I have, thank you. I have like, my color is black. So I have like a silicone straw so I can put in the dishwasher. It comes with a straw to clean it out. But this is just something simple. Of course, the bags, but just starting somewhere. And that's what I love even about this book about climate justice. Everybody can start somewhere. And if tonight we just tapped into one thing, you know, and gave one piece of advice, you know, just to look for it, if everybody did one thing differently, right, that we know that it will have an impact. So I'm super excited that you guys can, those that are watching, and hopefully can share this video and it'll have this ripple effect, right, if you will. So thank you, Zoya. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
I don't think so, but I will leave with saying, you know, small things, simple things, little things you can do every day. They will make such a big impact in the long run. So yeah.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. What they say, you know, when you bite, you can take down a, I don't want to say elephant because you guys are definitely animal, but you know, one bite at a time. Don't say that. I know. You know what I'm saying.
We don't do that, but yeah, we get you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I see they're asking for the book. This was a great book that helped me when I started trying to implement climate change. It's called Climate Justice. Great read, great book. Dr. Sir Clive Rivers, we talked about this book and got it started. So it's just a great read. And it's available on Amazon, but I think it helps and brings into perspective how climate change can affect someone being in Pittsburgh of the United States, being in Miami, in South America, Honduras, just how all these things are really connecting. And again, we all share the same planet. So thank you, thank you. All right, so we're going right next up to Landra Richards. She is the Blessed Girl. She is the youth leader that brought you guys all here. And she really is helping me to set the platform and build even on the curriculum and the training that we do with Blessed Girls and climate change. So Landra, come on up. You know, you're going to take the lead. I will ask you just a few questions, and then from there, guys are going to have your group discussion on what you guys are currently doing and the topic that you want to share. So Landra, what does climate change mean to you, and how does it affect your life?
Excuse me, sorry. So to actually answer this question, I think you'd actually first have to ask yourself a fundamental question as to what exactly is climate change. And Zoya explained it already before, but I'm going to go into detail for y'all just a bit. So stay with me, right? So they generally explain climate change to be, they just, they generally explain that climate change would be caused due to the immense burning of fossil fuels that would emit carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. And this carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere, it essentially would break down this shield. I'm not sure if you guys know about the ozone layer.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely should have learned it, and if you forgot it, well, here it is now. And this ozone layer is scientists predicted to function as a protective barrier that protects us from the sun's rays and from us receiving its extremities and so on, right? So once this layer is broken, we're at the wrath of the sun, right? We're receiving everything. And when you ask me what this means to me, it means that our future generations are in big trouble, right? As we're exhibiting drastic environmental changes that will have the globe looking like Jesus' second coming. There's a really great documentary by David Ashberg. Oh gosh, his surname is really hard to pronounce. I'm not sure if Diopal might want to help me out here because I'm sure he's watched it well. He made a documentary
David
entitled
Attenborough.
Oh yes, Attensberg. He made a document entitled "A Life on Our Planet," and he basically gave us a depiction of all of that, right? So now with all this, with all these catastrophic events happening, it makes me feel that I'm a part of building future generations. So, oh, sorry, I'm getting nervous. Christ, oh God. So it makes me feel that I'm a part of building this future generation that is in trouble to deal with this. So it essentially also means that I have responsibility. Yes.
Wow. Okay,
To
listen,
take care of you guys.
you took on some hot things here because you're saying, first of all, you said the wrath of the sun. So how the ozone layer, and I see Miss Bonnie is watching. She said, yes, the eroding of the ozone layer is bringing on the wrath of the sun. And when we talk about the heat, right, increasing, right, and in that regard. And I love you giving the recommendation of the documentary, which is A Life on Our Planet. And the other thing is, you said it's going to be like the wrath of Jesus, or the second coming of Jesus. if we don't do anything about this. We're putting the fear of God in us, okay, Landra? I love it. But you are so, and I know that you are truly so passionate about this, and you mean that. So it's like, it's our responsibility, right, for the next generation. And I feel like the more we have these conversations and you lay this thing out very clearly and directly, the more we can have, again, raise this awareness and get people to take action. So I thank you. I thank you for that. Okay. Now tell me, how has the pandemic affected your community? If there's anything different or you want to add to that, so the pandemic in your community right now, anything else that hasn't been spoken about, or are we pretty good with that?
So I think essentially Diopal and Zoya have said the most of it. I don't need to add on top of it.
Okay.
They've covered everything I have, basically.
Right. Now, are you working on any other research or projects with you and your friends in your community in regards to climate change?
Well, I think I'm basically working on a project whereby I'm trying to help prepare Guyana's coastal zone for rising sea levels. See, the thing is, we've degraded our mangrove ecosystem, like Diopal said already. We had like around 90,000 hectares, and we're down to 20,000 hectares or so on. And my project is basically looks at insect pollinators, the insects that produce galls that would eventually be able to. Okay, so galls, before I move on, galls are simply like tumor-like growths that you might see in the US, you might see it on your oak trees. They're like huge. Some of them are like huge. They're like tumors on your plant leaves, but they don't essentially harm the plant at all, but they might steal some nutrients to like help their insect larvae grow. So essentially my project would like to find out how exactly we can improve the presence of these galls in our mangrove ecosystem, because right now they are under attack from fungal endophytes. Basically, they're being killed by a specific type of fungus and so on. And this in turn would eventually like reduce the amount of pollination that's actually happening within our mangroves and the whole natural buildup of mangroves, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Very good, very good. And of course, when we talk about youth and adults, from your perspective, what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions or understandings in regard to adults and youth and the different generations, and what can we do to bridge the gap?
This one, Diopal and Zoya also covered for me.
You have this look of thinking about something. So you agree. So you agree in regards to I'm trying to think of not having the small mindedness and letting you guys speak on the issues and and give advice. Is that it?
Definitely.
Okay. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Well, listen, Miss Landry, you brought your friends along, you brought your colleagues along, and I am going to step back and I'm going to let you guys, I'm going to put you guys both on all three of you on the screen, and you guys are going to have a chat maybe the next 10, 15 minutes. I want you guys to talk about what you're doing, what you're passionate about, and also make sure you let us know how we can partner and take part in this. So I'm gonna step back, I believe. I'm hoping this works. And you guys step up. Let's see.
Great. Thank you, Anana. So we're going to dive a bit deeper into the topic of climate change as it relates to our coastal zone, because almost half of the world's population actually lives within like 100 kilometers of our coast, and we have our glaciers in Western Antarctica, and yeah, they're basically melting at an alarming rate. And I'm sure everyone should be aware about this. If you're not aware about this, all right. So my first question to you guys, Diopal and Zoya, would be, why is our coastal zone important, and what relations do we have to our coast?
Would you like to go first, Zoya?
Okay, sure. So, as Landra said, majority of our population would reside on the coastal zone or within near to the coastal zone. So you find most of the time in a lot of the countries, we depend a lot on everything that happens within our coast. We depend on it as our food resource, the livelihood, everything. So the coast, it plays such an important role. It's basically our biggest, largest resource, and it's not renewable. So we have to take into consideration the things that we do and how it will impact the coast in terms of buildings, infrastructure, that kind of thing. We have a lot of erosion on the coast. We have to consider when we're building, when we're putting up a building, where are we getting the sand to put up the building from? We're taking it right from our beaches. We're removing soil from the beach. We're wearing down our beach. You find a lot of time the coast is what really helps us with natural disasters. So we get things like typhoons, we get things like hurricanes, tsunami. The beach is what will take the majority of the blow, the beating from that kind of event. So the beach, it protects us, right? The coast protects us. And it also provides so much livelihood. So we have a lot of our crops. I think Dio would have mentioned earlier, in Guyana, we do a lot of rice farming, a lot of rice. It's one of our major exports. And if most of it is on the coast. And you find that due to erosion again, coming back with climate change, higher rising sea levels, lots more waves, wave action, you're finding that there's a lot of erosion, a lot of flooding in the rice fields, and it's leading to lots of loss of crops, which again, lots of economic loss, lots of food security, because what are we going to feed people if our crops are dying from things that we do? Dio, jump in.
Hi. Okay, so the importance of the coast for me. So I like to think of it as a economic hub because everything goes on there. One, the coast provides transportation to and from different areas, be it internationally or locally, because all of our major harbors are there. That is how we can export our goods and import our export and import our goods as well. It's also where most of our population is found, and as I would have said, it's also where all of our most of our agricultural growth takes place. For example, rice, which contributed to over 222 million US dollars as of 2019. So for me, I think the coast is especially important because of its economic value to us. However, it also has certain environmental implications and values. For example, I would have said before that on the coast you can find our mangroves, and the mangroves, they're a very powerful ecosystem, and they serve as incubation sites for the fishes, the crabs, and whatever other animals that inhabit that area. So if we are not careful and we focus mainly on infrastructural development and not take into account the environment around, do our necessary impact assessments, and do our due diligence, we will destroy that ecosystem, and in the long run, we would have lost, because we would have destroyed those forests that protect our coastline, which lead to erosion and loss of land. We would have destroyed the ecosystem, which provides us with new higher populations of fishes, which in turn is caught by our fishermen and then reintroduced into our economy and even exported. For example, our Bangameri trade, which we're fighting to get back on the road. So for me, yes, the coastline has economic and environmental value to us, and we need to preserve and ensure that as we develop, we have the best interest of our environment in play.
Thank you guys so much. That was great. That was great. So anytime you guys go on a beach, just remember you are on a coastal zone and remember the importance of it. Try to keep it clean as much as possible because, like Diopal and Zoya said, we have our fishes coming there. So if you're going to pollute it and so on, you won't create an inhabitable environment for them. And they also mentioned that it protects us from natural disasters. So there's really great value in our coastal zones, and yep, definitely need to take care of them. And now let's move on to my next question, which is, how do you think climate change affects our coastal zone? I think Diopal will go first.
Okay, so climate change has a very, very negative effect on our coastal environment, mainly because of the rise in tides. You find that you get more destructive waves, which quite honestly, as the name suggests, destroys everything in its path. So what happens is I will reference mangroves quite a lot because they are kind of the MVP when it comes to the coastal zones for us. Uh, so mangroves protect us from the sea, as the saying goes. And what happens is they serve as wave breaks, which prevents the wave from destroying the land. And as these waves would hit the mangroves, yes, they would be destroyed. But however, how it used to be is mangroves were destroyed, but they were able to regrow faster than they were being destroyed. But it's gotten to the point where the waves are washing away the mangroves. They're not able to regrow as fast as they to catch up with the tides, and we're not helping as well because we have certain anthropogenic factors. These are man-made issues, like people would cut down the mangroves because they want the bark to cure leather. The red mangrove is especially important in that trade. Some of them use the wood for firewood, and some of them they dump their garbage, and the mangroves aren't able to regrow. So yeah, the climate change has a very negative impact on the on our coastal zones because it causes mass erosion of the different areas within our coastal zone, which remove the land, and it leads to saltwater intrusion, which will potentially destroy our crops, lead to flooding, destruction of our livestock, and overall it just makes life way more harder. So we need to put more effort into building our seawalls and preserving our mangrove species. So yeah, that's it for me on that part of it.
Okay, that was a lot to process.
That was pretty
I hope
much
everybody's able to
everything.
keep up. That was a lot to process. So I
I'll
hope everybody
try
was
to
able
be.
to keep up with that. If anything, I'll go over just in case anybody in the audience like, whoa, what's going on? So I'll have Zoya explain, answer have her answer to the question as well. So let's hear from you, Zoya.
He pretty much said most of it, if not all of it.
True.
And I guess I touched on it as well for answering the first question. When we think about climate change, we have to think about everything that happens when it happens. You have to think of all the impacts: rising sea levels, temperature changes, all these new and strange natural disasters. I mean, in Guyana, where we are, we tend to see not very many natural disasters, but that can very easily change depending on how we handle the situation and what we're doing to change things. I don't think I really have anything else to add from what Dio said, honestly. He hit the nail on the head.
Now, if I can just say something, because I feel like I told you guys, I'm like a fly on the wall for your discussion. And I love this part about it because I'm just learning. I really, really am. And the thing, I'm a beach lover. I love to be by the water. And I feel like a lot of people are like that, right? But they don't see the beach as really being, this important, right? They
Yeah.
don't really see it as that. It's something we just go to enjoy, to be by the water, lay down, get your tan, just enjoy it. For me, it's very spiritual, it's very therapeutic, right? But to now, I have a whole new perspective and understanding about the coast and about the beach, if you will. So this for me really, really is helpful, and I know I'm gonna definitely take a deeper dive. So you really have encouraged me in that way, and I hope that a lot of people that are watching, people go on cruises, they love to be by the water, but it's so much more than that. When you talk about the ecosystem and the fish and destroying the erosion in the land, and it's just it really took it to me to really understand. You said it's an economic hub. I think D.L. Paul called it that. And I've never thought about that. If anything else, I thought it was more like tourism, so that made sense for me. But to really understand the bigger picture of it, the products, that come from the coastline is really important. The rising tide is actually important. And like D.L. Paul said, the mangroves are the MVPs. Only he can say that. I never even think of such a thing. That mangroves is the MVP. And we must protect the sea. That if there's nothing, look, that's a tagline: mangroves MVP, protect the sea. I think that's a big takeaway. I hope Landra is there with us. Okay, she's back. Okay, let's get her back. I think we might have missed her there. So she should be back in. Landra, you there? Okay, I think she's working her way back in with us. But that was very, yeah, we can't see you, but we can hear you. But I felt like when we talk about the coastline, you guys really opened my perspective in that regard, and for protecting the coastal system, and flooding and sea levels and things. And what was that number you said in regards to rice, dear Paul? Because I love my rice.
222 million US dollars as of 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
One important thing to note about the beaches. For example, in Guyana, there's one called Shell Beach, where every year you have large amounts of turtles coming back to lay their eggs. Because one thing about turtles, they always come back to the beach from which they were birthed.
Wow.
Give it to later eggs or die, but they always come back to that specific beach. And we need to keep our beaches clean, because if there are plastics there, then the turtles can't come and lay their eggs, and the next population of turtles or the next generation of turtles will be vastly affected, because a much smaller number would be produced, and it would have a ripple effect, because you're not just looking at the population of one specific species, because you need to take into account turtles do two things. They add to the food chain, their food for other animals, and they also contribute the population. They also control the population of others. So by doing so, you're affecting other food chains. You're causing some animals to die, or their populations to reduce as well, because there isn't enough food available for them, or you're causing the overpopulation of, let's say, fishes, because there aren't enough turtles to control that amount of that population, which in turn affects another food chain and another food chain, and it overall has this big ball of confusion or mess caused by the reduction in number of one species. So yeah, that is one importance of beaches as well. They're sites for turtle nesting.
Another thing, while we're talking about turtles, and this is something that's very interesting when you think about it. A lot of amphibians and reptiles, they did this thing. So the determination of whether an animal is a male or a female in some reptiles, turtles specifically, it depends on the temperature. So you find that if it's too hot, you may get a male, and if it's the right temperature, it's the female. So what happens is, it's getting hotter. We're creating a lot more male turtles. And so there is a population, there's a rift in equilibrium between male and females. So eventually we're probably going to lead to extinction of a beautiful species because we cannot control the temperature.
And that comes
Interesting
back to climate change.
Comes back to climate change.
Interesting. And it's not enough females for the male turtles. Is that what's going to happen?
Exactly. Exactly.
We can
Wow,
even
wow,
talk about
wow. This is
corals,
good.
but
What
yeah.
you said, Dear Paul?
We can even talk about corals because as temperature rises, as the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere increases, we cause acidification of our oceans, which cause bleaching of our corals. And one thing to note about corals are small in percentage, but they contribute a lot to the ecosystem. Like they're the rainforest of the ocean.
Yeah.
And 1% of coral reefs can host over 80% of all marine life or contribute towards the sustenance of that marine life within a specific area. They're basically, we call our cities our hubs for commute and a living. The coral reefs are like a city. They provide incubation, they provide food, they provide protection. And because of climate change, global warming, adding of excessive CO2 into our atmosphere, we're causing those to die out. So we are directly affecting our marine and coastal organisms as well.
No, it's and the thing is when you talk about the chain, right? And so again, I'm very visual. It's a chain. If there's a link or something is missing, the chain is broken, right? And then you have a deficit and you have disease and like all of these things are to change. So that's what Jeff was saying. A lot of people feel like, why should I care about the animals? Like, what does this affect me, right? And that's why we're here today to show, the interconnecting and the dependence even on a turtle, even on fish, even on the coastland, all the way in South America, how it can affect me. These are the things that matters. And I see Bonnie says, people do not understand that the role of animals and why they were created. All life has a purpose.
Circle of life.
Even the
Back to the
mosquitoes.
circle of life. Yep.
Yeah.
Even the pests, even the things that we consider pests, if they weren't there, like snakes, for instance, we don't like snakes in fields, but they help to get rid of rodents. We don't like spiders. I know a lot of people hate spiders, but they help to get rid of a lot of the everyday pests that would cause diseases. So when you, it's really enlightening when you take a step back and you look at the world from a new perspective, from a different perspective, you realize that literally everything goes hand in hand. Everything is one relating to the other. It's beautiful, quite honestly.
It is. It really is. And that's when, of course, the theme is civility, like being civil, right? I mean, I still have to say it still is all connected. I mean, we did 4 days, civility, community, creativity, and now climate change, but they all are still connected. And even being creative in your thought and the things that you do to save even the climate change, we're so brilliant, and to think like, oh, that's just it. And it just stops and it doesn't matter. I think we all know better than that. We all really do understand that, but we have to be intentional, slow down, and be, it's really just be intentional on the connectivity and understanding how we all are connected, and what you do affects me. What I do over here, all the way in New Jersey, right, can affect you guys over there. And I love the global conversation on how we all are all interconnected. So this is really, really good. Anything, Landra? I know we lost you, but you're back. Did you want to keep us going? I see folks are giving us some hearts and they're watching. So we thank you. I see Rosetta West, Christine Hunt, Ravindra. You guys know any of these names? There's some people that are watching. Oh, you see them? Deepak, Rupshan, they're watching. Amo. These names, I know I probably will mess them up. Jeff, thank you for tuning in. Vikash, Aditya Ali is watching. So thank you guys for watching. And I always say, continue if you have any questions, because these are the experts. These young minds are so brilliant. I'm, of course, blessed. I am a blessed girl to bring them here to this platform to share. But guys, please show them some love. Make sure you share this video, tag them in it. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm watching the comments. Please, they're here. They're here. We're going to be wrapping this thing up very shortly. We've been at this for 4 nights. This is the 4th night, but this is the grand finale of this conference. So any questions or any comments that you have for our amazing biology, coastal, I don't even know what to title them, but they are amazing. and I'm happy, and I pray for the day once the borders open up that we'll probably come back to Guyana and, you know, hold a conference in person where we can really learn. And who knows, you guys might come here, we'll travel together. So it's just the beginning. It's really just the beginning. Yeah, they say, yes, my girl Landra, they're shouting you out. So Landra, I'll turn it back over to you. Any closing questions or remarks or anything that you want to share or you want your panelists to share tonight to bring out?
There's actually a closing question. I mean, we can't talk about the issues and not talk about solutions to them.
Come on.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. So how do you guys propose we can mitigate these issues caused by climate change?
Radio.
Okay. So do you have a specific issue in mind, or do I just go all out?
No, wait, I didn't hear you.
Do you have a specific issue in mind? Because they're numerous, and each would require its own solution.
I think you can pick on anyone that you feel comfortable with. And that's fine.
And if I'll add to that, think about it, the audience in a global standpoint, you know what I mean? So think about it. So, you know, what can, if you would speak, you know, you're talking to a global audience. So Jeff is actually, I think he's in Ohio, right? Bonnie, she's in North America. So just think about it. I know you have people chiming in from Guyana as well, but think about it from a global audience. What are, you know, maybe 1 or 2 things that you think solution wise that we can do to mitigate some of the issues that have been brought up tonight in regards to climate change?
So let's talk about the coast first. So for the coast, we can use an integrated coastal zone management program. Basically, it's a holistic approach when it comes to the development of our coast. So we pull on every sector and stakeholder if we're about to do a project, and we try to find possible issues that may arise, or whatever we're doing what effects it would cause, and find mitigation for it. So definitely we need to have a plan that considers every aspect of the environment and the economy and human resources as a whole. And then we work on how we can go about fixing whatever issues might arise. And then we need to then implement it and get the support from the government for that. So that's specific to the coast. We need an integrated coastal zone management program. In terms of, let's say our plastic issue. For Guyana, I would have mentioned before, we're embarking on our single-use plastic ban. So that's a step in the right direction. We will mitigate, we will be able to reduce the amount of plastics that we put out there. Granted, we're not solving the issue of the bottles. We're just solving for plates and for the cutlery and straws. It's a step in the right direction. We need to also consider reusing of items, as I would have mentioned before. If you have a plastic fork or spoon, you use it as many times as you can. You can wash it and use it once again. If you're going to the grocery store, don't take a plastic bag every time. Take your own bag. They have those really nice they're not plastics. They're canvas bags where you can put your groceries and take it home, and that you're reducing the amount of plastics you use. So use biodegradable alternatives as opposed to plastics. Yes, they're expensive, but we are working on making those much cheaper. One thing that can be done is using subsidies to make them more readily available and cheaper. And as I would have said before, even if they were somehow improperly disposed of, they would degrade within a span of 60 days, 60, maybe 120, depending on what material it is, as opposed to plastics, which would have taken way longer. In terms of our CO2 emissions, we need to look at uh, alternative fuels in terms of our fossil fuel usage. So some countries, China, for example, has um, they have they have commissioned one of the largest solar farms in the world. I believe it was a week ago. We need to look into solar, hydro, and wind electricity to fuel our cities and our countries. One thing we can also do for in terms of that approach is we try to limit as much as possible the amount of cars that we use. Well, now it's not really feasible given that it's a pandemic, but you find that before the pandemic, people would have used trains, they would have used buses as opposed to cars. One, it reduces the amount of traffic, and it also reduces the amount of fuel that is needed. We also need to think about conservation. We need to ensure that our forests are given top priority. I know logging is a source of income for most countries, but we need to somehow we need to ensure that once the trees are cut down in an area, they are replanted. We need to set quotas for persons, which is being done to ensure that we don't overforest in a specific area. And we need to have funds available so that we can have conservation drives, reforestation drives, and monitoring of our ecosystems to ensure that they're healthy, to ensure that they're being maintained and they're not being littered. Uh, yeah, I don't think I should go further. I might answer all of them. So I'll
We
just
gotta have you
conclude.
back, dear Paul. Man, oh man. They're giving you hearts, man. They're giving you hearts. Listen, you are giving it to him
He's
tonight.
giving
The
everything.
world
Thank
is
you.
watching, and dear Paul, we are listening. Okay, we are listening and we
Thank you.
are learning from you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Zoya, go ahead, answer the question, sis.
Well, he set the stage. What can I say? You know, I don't think I have anything different to say to that. I will say though, on a more personal level, what you can do, solutions. Accountability is very important. You need to understand that what you're doing will affect. You have to pay attention to the things that you do every day, the little things that you do every day, and think about what's happening to this toothbrush when I throw it away. What's happening to this straw when I finish with it? Where is this going when I throw it into the garbage and the garbage people collect it? Where is all of it going at the end of the day? Right? Another thing is a lot of the points that Dio mentioned are integration, managerial kind of things. They're important. So on a personal level, what we can do, we can go and say, look, don't build this building. But we can make decisions in terms of leadership, who we vote for, protesting, starting initiatives that can add some kind of direction or make our voices be heard a little bit, I guess. So yeah, that would definitely be it for me. Don't be afraid to speak out if something really affects you.
Okay, one more thing before we close off that I just like to touch on. So we really do have to protect our coastal zones. And currently Guyana has this big deal with ExxonMobil and so on. And I'm sure many other countries do as well. And I just want to say, ExxonMobil is lying to you, okay? They're not trying to make money for you and your country. They're trying to make money at your expense. We do not need fossil fuels all the time. We can use natural, renewable resources. We have solar power and so much more. So speak out on your rights. We are against ExxonMobil, okay? That's
Right.
it for me.
And then we lost her. So speak out on your rights, and I get that, Landra, because as I started even in the beginning, with us, it is a political election time for us here in the United States. And we just had the debate, and the previous one, it was the presidential debate. And I finally heard one I think it was Joe Biden speak about climate change. Like there was nobody, bringing this up and addressing this. And like you said, this is huge. We will not be here. Like the world will not be here as we know it. I don't know, Dia Paul's best estimate, 50 years did he give us? Like things will look different. I don't know. I'll tune into him for his his predictions and timing of changing and things. But it's just so key that what she's saying is time to speak out, and it starts with us being aware. Like we have got to, when you don't know what's fracking, like I had to look up fracking. I didn't know what that fracking was, this digging and drilling for fuels and all this kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys know about it. But these things, the Paris Agreement, right? And that's what Landra was saying, even also, it's just Googling it, just looking, because if you don't know how to hold politicians accountable, hold your legislative, those people accountable, right, to these things that really matter to you. So I think, again, raising the awareness. Kevin Samwar, you are serving a wealth, Samaru, sorry, Samwaru, you are serving a wealth of knowledge. Really appreciate that you guys are doing this. That's from Dexter Gardner. I had to just let you know, you got a shout out. We got different eyes and getting some hearts up there. Yes, say thank you. So I like the fact that she's saying speak out, know your rights, and be accountable. And that's the last thing that I would say, that tonight you cannot say that you didn't know. Tonight, like we if you didn't know, we put the light on it tonight, and you have learned something. You talked about reusable, we're talking about straws. You can no longer say that you didn't know. We're putting it out on the forefront, and you and your friends, you and your community, if it's just you and your family, you know what? We're going to do things differently now. No, we're not getting bags. We're going to put these bags in the trunk of the car, and we're going to have these available to us. We're going to all use our own water bottles and refill our water bottles when we go out for walks and we go to work out. These things that we can do, but hold each other accountable, in your space, in your tribe, if you will, it certainly matters. So I think that was definitely a big key takeaway. Again, as the 4 C's, we're talking about, having civility, to yourself, and of course to our world, to our climate, to our earth, right? And then being a community, and a community is knowing that what I do affects you. How can I help you? How can I affect change and improve, the climate in that regard? And then being creative in that. I love how Landra talked about less creating bowls out of the coconut. So Zoya, Landra, that's your project. Next up, all right? So y'all going to work on that, do a video. You're going to teach us how to do it. I'll get the coconuts here, but this is something we're definitely going to do together and collectively keep going and growing. And we will absolutely have Dio Paul back with his expertise. What he has coming up next. But this was absolutely awesome. I thank you guys. I know we lost Landra. Hopefully she'll be back. But just as closing remarks, I wanted just to say thank you. Thank you to everybody who was watching. This was day 4 of this conference, and I think we really kicked it off, the grand finale, on something that we don't hear a lot about. But when we talk about listening and learning and living civility, climate change, the 4th C is so key. It is crucial to our day today, even in the midst of a pandemic all around the globe. So I thank you to each of our speakers, our panelists. I see Landra's back. I'll let her say goodbye as people are coming up. Okay, there she goes. And just closing remarks, Zoya, I'll let you say your closing remarks. Anything else to say goodnight to the audience?
Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope that you have an open mind to everything that we say. Look, if you want to fact check, go ahead. You can check back anything that we've said. Educate yourself on anything. And it's such an interesting topic to dive into, so don't be afraid to dip your toes in it.
Dip your toes in it. She said that so beautifully. All right, dear Paul, closing remarks from you, sir.
I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. I hope you would have at least learned one new thing today. If there are any questions, I'm sure any of us would be happy to answer those at any time. So leave a comment, maybe.
Yes.
And I would just like to close by saying that the health of our environment and the earth in whole is everybody's business, and we should all be working together to have it at optimal capacity or performance, making sure that our environments are safe for not just us, but for the animals that live within them. So, yeah.
Very, very good. Well said. Well said. Landra, closing remarks.
First of all, I'd like to thank you so much, Anana. We truly need more leaders like you in this place. Goodness gracious. You've given us a platform to vocalize our thoughts and opinions on things happening. And also, thank you to my two guests, Zoya and Diopal, for joining. And thank you, everyone, for watching. You were a great audience.
They were a great audience. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So thank you again, all the attendees. I tell you what, I ask you to make sure you comment, you share this video, share some of your key takeaways. We'll definitely have the guests go back through the broadcast and watch and listen. Connect with them. Follow them on Facebook, on Instagram, BlessedGirls.com. If you want to learn more, if you want to contribute, we definitely would love to take donations because we want to continue this work. We want to definitely, our next project we have is domestic violence awareness, and we're going to be having an event next weekend. We ask you to plug into that, but please visit BlessedGirls.com if you want to become a mentor, if you want to become a mentee. We will certainly have you to apply and come and join our tribe because listen, we always know this conference was about the 4 C's: civility, community, creativity, and climate change. And I believe that on every aspect we touched on that, and that so you too can learn, you were able to listen, and it's time to live civility. My name is Dr. Anana Phifer-Derilhomme. I am the Woman and Youth Civility Practitioner, and it was my pleasure to have this platform to share, to open, and to hopefully inspire you to take action because it's your time to be bold, to be you, and to be blessed. Thank you so much for watching.